The secrets behind our love story, a journey of heart and hope. I never thought I'd fall in love with a poor village girl. I grew up in a castle. My life was all about royal balls, fancy clothes, and finding a bride who could secure a political alliance for my father, the king. But then I met Alara. She was different from all the other girls I'd been presented to. She didn't know how to curtsy properly or hold a fork like the nobility were supposed to. But it was that very awkwardness that made her endearing. And before I knew it, I was falling head over heels for her. But here's the twist. Alara wasn't just any village girl. She was the daughter of the family that owned the tavern my brother and I frequented when we wanted a drink and a good brawl. And she had a secret, a past she was hiding. When I found out who her parents were, I was furious. How could they raise their daughter to be so disrespectful, so unrefined? And why was she keeping secrets from me? I confronted her, demanding answers. And that's when I learned the truth. Alara had spent most of her childhood in an orphanage in a neighboring kingdom. Her real parents had died when she was just a baby, and her adoptive parents, the tavern owners, had no idea who her biological family was. They simply took her in, because they couldn't bear to see such a helpless child alone in the world. As for her behavior, well, that was because she'd grown up in a rough environment. Boys at the orphanage had taught her how to fight, not dance, and she'd learned to speak her mind, not mince words. In other words, she was a diamond in the rough, a raw, unpolished gem that I knew I had to have. Of course, my advisors weren't thrilled when I told them about my choice of bride. A village girl with a shady past. What kind of king's daughter was I thinking of marrying her? Well, I wasn't thinking of marrying her yet. Not until I'd won her heart. But the problem was, she didn't seem to want my heart. At first, she rejected me. She couldn't understand why I, the crown prince, would even consider her. I tried to convince her that it was because I loved her, but the more I insisted, the more she resisted. Then one day I realized that something was holding her back, something she wasn't telling me. So I did what any lovesick prince would do. I followed her around, and what I saw broke my heart. Alara was visiting a young boy in the orphanage where she'd spent her childhood. She told him stories and played games with him, and he seemed to light up whenever she was around. It was clear that this child meant the world to her, and it dawned on me that she might be his sister. When I asked her about it, she hesitated, then finally admitted the truth. She had a twin sister named Lyra, who was mentally disabled due to a head injury she'd sustained in a carriage accident years ago. The twins had been separated at the orphanage, and neither girl knew the other existed. Until recently, I couldn't believe how much Alara had kept from me, but I understood why she did it. She didn't want my pity. She wanted to be loved for who she was, not because I felt sorry for her. And I realized then that I didn't just love her beauty or her spirit. I loved her for her kindness, her compassion. The way she cared for her sister made me fall in love with her all over again. And that time, there was no resistance. Alara finally let me in, not only to her heart, but to her past, her fears, her dreams. I promised then that no matter what secret she was hiding, I would always love her. And I meant it. For a while, we were the happiest couple in the kingdom. Then my father fell ill. The royal healers did their best, but it was clear that he wouldn't recover. He summoned me to his bedside and told me the one thing I never expected to hear. He wanted Alara to be my wife. Of course I agreed, but I could tell that it wasn't just about wanting the best for me. My father knew that he was nearing his mortal end, and he wanted to ensure the kingdom's future by uniting us. After all, if I married Alara, it would bring our people together. My father was right, and a few months later, he passed away with Alara by his side. Now, technically, she wasn't a pauper anymore. She was a princess, the future queen of this kingdom. But she remained the same kind, humble girl I'd fallen in love with. We ruled side by side, making decisions together and sharing the responsibilities of the crown. It wasn't always easy. There were those who doubted Alara's ability to lead, those who whispered that she was nothing more than a peasant girl in disguise. But we proved them wrong. Alara was a natural leader. She was compassionate, intelligent, and fair. She listened to the concerns of our people and worked tirelessly to make their lives better. One day, however, a shadow fell over our kingdom. A neighboring lord, jealous of our prosperity, declared war. He sent his knights to plunder our lands and kill our people. I was ready to defend my kingdom with every fiber of my being, but Ilara stopped me. She had a plan, a risky one that would determine the fate of our kingdom. She called the neighboring lord to the castle and offered him a deal. She proposed a single combat, a battle between two champions, to decide the fate of the war. If her champion won, the neighboring lord would withdraw his troops and recognize our kingdom's sovereignty. But if he won, she would give him half of our kingdom's land. It was a bold move, but Ilara was confident that she could find a champion who would defeat the neighboring lord's best fighter. Her only problem was finding that champion. That's when she turned to the one person she knew could help us, her brother, Lysander. She hadn't seen him in years, but she was hoping that he hadn't forgotten her, that he would come to her aid when his sister needed him the most. But when Ilara approached Lysander, she was met with a harsh rejection. He was angry at her for leaving him behind all those years ago, for abandoning him at the orphanage and never looking back. Ilara begged him to forgive her, to help her save their kingdom, but Lysander refused. He was bitter and resentful, and he didn't care about her or her kingdom. Devastated, Ilara returned to the throne room, defeated. She had failed to rally her brother to our cause, and now the neighboring lord was preparing to attack. With our army ready to go, I tried to comfort Ilara. I told her that we would face the neighboring lord together, that we would fight alongside each other. But she shook her head. She knew that I couldn't understand the depth of her despair, the guilt she felt over her past. She needed someone who did understand, someone like her brother. That's when I had an idea. I left the kingdom in charge of the royal council and set out to find Lysander myself. I didn't know where he was or what he was doing, but I was determined to find him. After weeks of searching, I found him living as a commoner in a small village. He was working as a blacksmith and his skills were impressive. I told him about Ilara and the predicament she was in. I told him how much she needed him, how she was struggling to carry the weight of the kingdom on her shoulders. And slowly but surely I saw a change come over him. He began to remember his sister, the little girl he used to play with. He remembered her kindness, her compassion, the way she always looked out for him. It was a long shot, but I asked him if he would come with me, if he would help Ilara and our kingdom, and he agreed. Together we returned to the kingdom, where we were greeted as heroes. Ilara was overjoyed to see her brother again, and the three of us made a formidable team. With Lysander's help, we found the champion we needed to defeat the neighboring lord. And when the day of the duel arrived, we stood side by side, ready to face whatever challenges came our way. In the end, our champion won, and we were able to secure our kingdom's future. Looking back, I realized that our love story was anything but ordinary. We faced countless obstacles, but we never gave up on each other. Through it all, we held on to hope, and in the end, hope brought us together. Ilara and I ruled side by side for many years. We had 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl, and we shared our love and wisdom with our people. As I grew older, I became more and more aware of just how lucky I was to have found Ilara. She wasn't just a beautiful, intelligent woman, she was also kind, compassionate, and brave. She was everything I'd ever wanted in a partner and more. One day, while walking through the castle gardens with Ilara, I turned to her and told her how much I loved her, how grateful I was to have her by my side. She smiled and squeezed my hand, and I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. Because our love story wasn't just about a prince and a pauper, it was about 2 souls who found each other despite all the odds. It was a love story that had been written in the stars, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.